All right, so as we covered that press conference, we've also been talking about another press conference this morning. And this one was involving the shooting that happened at the high school earlier this week. This is at Wilmer-Hutchins High School. We heard from Dallas ISD officials really about the timeline that happened this morning, or Tuesday morning, excuse me, and what they're doing now. Big questions that remain at this point as far as safety is concerned, considering a shooting happened at this same school, this same campus just a year ago. So let's go back out live right now. I believe that press conference has wrapped, and it looks like we've got Cole with us right now. Okay, what did we miss? We heard quite a bit of information earlier. A lot of people had questions specifically about safety and that door being opened.
Yeah, and that was the key element that we got confirmed, Kara, that it was another student who opened the door for the suspected shooter to come into that high school. There are 13 entrances to Wilmer-Hutchins High School, we found out, and the doors are locked when it's not normal time for students to come in, and students are directed to go in through the front doors where there are metal detectors and bag checks implemented after that shooting at this same school nearly a year ago to the day from this shooting earlier this week. We know that that side door was, a student will let him in through that side door. And here's the key element that you may have missed from later in the press conference. For the remaining 23 days of school left before summer break, the superintendent says the district will put guards essentially at each one of those 13 entrances to make sure that a student or somebody else can't open one of those side doors to let another person in. Another security measure they're taking in the aftermath of all of this, Kara.
You know, and that's difficult, I'm sure. Parents want to keep their kids safe. You also want it to still feel like a school. So they have so many security measures already, we understand, as far as clear backpacks are concerned, and metal detectors.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the other elements that we learned as part of this investigation is the superintendent says it appears the suspect came into the school with a specific target in mind, that this was not random, although police say in their warrant affidavit once he began shooting that he's shot indiscriminately towards a group of people. One of the things that investigators are looking at now is whether there's a potential gang connection. The chief of DISD police says they're working with Dallas police to try to identify that, to try to figure out why this happened. But at this point, Kara, they don't have a motive or a clear picture of why this unfolded at this school earlier this week.
Well, and I can say, based on what we did here earlier regarding the timeline and how quickly we're talking from when the video and video evidence too that we've seen that has been verified about how quickly it happened. I mean, I understand that, you know, the car, he was seen in the parking lot at 12:56, and this was all over like 6, 7, 8 minutes later.
In the school for only 2 minutes, district officials say. But one of the questions that they also were asked was about letting the suspects, putting out the suspect's name and potential picture. There were hours that happened between those 2 minutes when the suspect was inside the school and shooting and when he turned himself into police that night here in Dallas. The question was, why did the public not know who this person, potentially armed, who had just was suspected of carrying out this school shooting, not know who that person was? At this point, the chief says that they were kind of in a very fluid situation, trying to figure out who the suspect was, making sure that there wasn't a second shooter within the school, and also tending to the injured students. One of the pieces of good news that we heard from the chief is that all 4 of the students who were injured or wounded in that shooting are expected to make a full recovery.
I know one thing that was mentioned too, I mean, obviously their campus is closed for the rest of the week, then there's Easter break. There was mentioned the superintendent potentially extending the campus being closed. Was anything made of that, or is it still going to reopen next, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday?
So staff will return next Tuesday at this point, the district says. Students next Wednesday, although they said that potentially could change as this investigation unfolds. All
right, Cole, we appreciate your update and getting us information on what we did miss when we had to go to break. So thank you so very much.
Of course.
And again, if you'd like to listen to that press conference, we've got the full conference for you right now at WFAA, our Plus app. You can listen to it, and you can listen to the different questions in case you missed any of that press conference that we showed you earlier during midday.